Hi there! My name is Roxy and I am the crafter behind Rox's Craft. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the 8th video of the series that I'm currently working on, where I showcase everything that I make within a week in preparation for an event that I will be attending on the 13th of June. I honestly can't believe that it's already been 8 weeks since I've started preparing for this event. Time has honestly just flown and I feel very unprepared in comparison to the convention that I attended in February. But hey, all that I can really do is just keep on going and just hope for the best, that I have enough items by the time it is, I guess that it's, the 13th. So this past week I have been mostly concentrating on all my Star Wars characters. I've done a small selection as I did have 2 different types of Star Wars characters already left over from my previous convention in February. So I had some R2-D2 left, and I also had some Chewbacca's, just little mini ones. I obviously, because I had 3 of those left, I haven't made any more Chewbacca's, but I did make an extra R2-D2, but I'm jumping the gun. I will first show you the first thing that I made this week. So right back from where I had left you in the previous video, I finally finished little Grogu over here. I say he's little, but he's quite big. He's got a little removable cloak, jacket, whatever you want to call it. However, for the sake of the video, I'm not going to be removing it, as I've tied it up very nicely, so he's all presentable for the event and hopefully for its new owner, fingers crossed, in June. So as always, a little bit about this pattern. I had used a 4.5mm hook. I had used a mixture of Parfait Chunky and Hobby Toucan. For Parfait Chunky I had obviously used key lime for the main body, cotton candy for inside the ears. The jacket or the hood is out of toffee, and then the lighter cream color part is from Hobby Toucan, I believe number 4. And yeah, from there I had used 25mm sinker eyes, which I had painted myself. I think this was the chocolate brown color, or perhaps could have been antique copper. I don't quite remember, as I had done quite a number of eyes in the same colors, and of course, silly me, I just put them in a bag where I just stated the size. I didn't state the colors or the paints that I had used, but yeah, the paint was just the folk art metallic paint. And yeah, overall he's done, he's dusted, he's so stinking cute. The pattern for little Grogu over here is for free. It is done by Creations Lilo on Instagram. You can find the free pattern as a PDF free pattern, by the way, on Ravelry, I believe it's pronounced. And yeah, it's such a fantastic pattern. It's now the 3rd time that I've made it, so it's pretty fast for me. I can usually whip it up within 3 hours. And yeah, I'm always really chuffed about it. Obviously if I had used a 5mm hook, he would have ended up a little bit bigger, but I didn't want to have too big of an item because the Mario and Luigi was already really big, so I just wanted more of like a, big but not too big of an item. And yeah, as always, he's just too cute. So hopefully he will get a new forever home on the 13th. There you go. Here's a little better look at him, I guess. Hopefully I'm in frame. But yeah, there you go. Once I finished the large Grogu, I went on to the little mini ones. Very, very cute. I had made, I can't hold them all, but I made 4 of them in total. It's honestly such an easy, such a quick pattern to make, and he ends up so stinking cute. The pattern is by Crochet W Bay, or Crochet with Bay on Instagram. It's such an easy, quick pattern. I can usually whip up one of these within 30 to 35 minutes. I had used a 5mm hook, and I had used solely Parfait Chunky, toffee and key lime, and then the eyes are 14mm, and yeah, it's honestly, he's just too cute. And just like the last time I had attended this event, I made 4 again, and admittedly I don't think 4 is enough because last time within the first 3 hours they were all sold out, but because I have so many other Star Wars things and other kinds of items, I figured 4 would be plenty. For the most part I followed the pattern. The only kind of change that I do is just I add an extra single crochet between the arms because my tension is just a little bit different. However, the pattern does state you may need to change the amount of single crochets between the bobbles to make them look a little bit even. They're probably not perfect, but hey, I like it. For the most part it is a low sew pattern, so you make the 2 ears and then you make the entire body and then you just sew on the ears. It's pretty easy, and yeah, it's a really lovely pattern, and I honestly can't recommend it enough, and it's such a nice size. I usually sell a plushie this size for about 15 New Zealand dollars, and that's a good price because people don't seem to mind paying that amount for something like this. Once I had finished all the little Grogus, which honestly took me about 1 evening, I then went on to the BB-8s. This is the first one that I made, and this is the copy that I will be keeping. However, admittedly this one is a little bit bigger than the others I ended up making. This particular one I had used a 5mm hook. However, it for something that I wanted to just charge $15 for, this was just not a good size, and if I did my my calculations, I wouldn't be making any money back from it essentially. So I decided with a 5mm hook this was just way too big, so let me quickly grab one. I went and changed the hook size. I rather did a 4mm, and as you can see the size difference is quite amazing. But yeah, I much preferred this 4mm hook one, so I made one of the big ones, which I'll be keeping for myself because, as you know, I always keep a spare one for myself, so I know how to make it in the future, and I don't mind the fact that it's with a 5mm. It doesn't bug me. And then I had made 3 to sell at the convention, and much like the little Grogus, they will only be about 15 New Zealand dollars. So as always, a little bit about this pattern. As you heard I guess previously, I used a 4mm hook. I had used a 14mm safety eye and a 10mm safety eye, and again solely Parfait Chunky, obviously in white, tangerine and cloudy day, as I really love how cloudy day is quite like a like a silver kind of color. So yeah, I'm really happy with this, and hopefully people will be excited to see little BB-8. The pattern designer for BB-8 is kcjoe.designs on Instagram. It's honestly a really quick pattern, somewhat I guess. It depends on how quick you are to sew, but you first make the head and you carry on to the body, and then you make the three little circles, or whatever they're actually called. You make them separately, and then you just sew them all on. And just like everything else that I make, I batch made everything. So I made the head and the body for all three. I then made all the little circles for all three, and then I sewed them all on. And yeah, I managed to finish them all by midday Saturday. So yeah, I was quite happy with these, and hopefully the people at the event will also enjoy seeing a BB-8. Once I had finished the BB-8s, I did make mention last week or in the previous video that I wanted to try and make a lightsaber keychain, and I did. However, I will be honest, I wasn't happy with it. Honestly, it doesn't look like a lightsaber. I don't really want to say what it looks like either, but I don't think this is very kid friendly, so I made one and I thought I'm not gonna make it again. However, I'll talk about it anyway in case, you know, somebody wants to make it. So completely out of Parfait Chunky, I used a 4mm hook, key lime and Cloudy Day, and then just some cotton yarn for the little, I guess, grippy parts. And the pattern is completely for free and it's completely no sew, and it is by Bretts_Stitched. Perhaps, you know, somebody else will have a much easier time making this keychain than myself, but yeah, I'll just keep this keychain for myself and just not make any more Star Wars items in keychain form. After I had attempted to make that lightsaber keychain and decided nope, I don't want to continue, I went on to make the extra RTD2 that I needed to do. I already had two from my previous event, so I just had to make an extra one just so that there was 3 in total, and here it is. It is a very easy low sew pattern. You make the entire body and then you just make the little arms separately and sew them on. It's mostly just done by chains, so you know, very easy to make. I had used a 5mm hook on this little guy with Parfait Chunky, obviously in white, Cloudy Day, and I believe just blue. I had used a 14mm safety eye and a little bit of red cotton for the little button that he has. And then last but not least, the pattern designer for RTD2 is Makes Crochet on Instagram. It's honestly a really lovely pattern. I think if I were to make the pattern again, for instance in a 4mm hook, I could probably actually get away with having a keychain sized item, and I believe the pattern designer does for this size use it as a keychain. However, it's quite big, and so I just make it out of, you know, 5mm hook and try and get as much size as I can out of this. I could technically use a 5.5 just to make it that little bit bigger, but the other two were with a 5mm hook, so maybe once they all sell, I'll then be able to use a 5.5 and see how that goes instead. But yeah, here's little RTD2. He's very cute and small. After that RTD2, I had officially finished making all the Star Wars things that I wanted to do for the convention. Obviously, I would have liked to do some Luke Skywalkers and Darth Vaders and all of those kinds of characters. However, because I'm, you know, stretched for time, I decided I'll just leave it to those, and maybe next time when I do this event again in November, I can then rather do dolls of those. So after that I changed my mind and I ended up making some Perry the Platypuses. I am no stranger to this pattern. I had made these previously twice, and both times they sold out pretty quickly, so I only did 3 of these Perry the Platypuses. I'll show you a little bit of a close-up. He's very cute, very small. The hat does come off, however I have it pinned down but with a bobby pin, and don't worry, when people buy buy a Perry, I just say that there is a bobby pin in there just to keep the hat on. Otherwise, in transit and everywhere, you know, the hat keeps keeps falling off. I had solely used a 5mm hook. I did use a 4mm hook just to do the little flap on the hat. Solely again just parfait chunky, so lagoon, tangerine, teddy bear and espresso. The eyes are 12mm and the pattern designer is Poggy's Place. As everybody knows about Poggy's Place, the patterns are so easy, generally no sew or low sew, and in this particular one it is no sew, especially because I'm not, you know, sewing the hat onto little and onto the big Perry. I also don't include the little hair because the hat, you know, the hat covers it anyway. The beak and the tail are just crocheted or surface crocheted on, so again very easy to do. And yeah, he just ends up just so cute, like absolutely adorable. I can, every time I can see why everybody goes absolutely crazy for a little Perry, and yeah, it's so nice to have him back in stock, or in my stock I guess. And yeah, obviously as you can see I only made 3. That's because I went on to then go try a new pattern just to kind of get a different variety of Perry since he is so popular. So here is the other Perry that I had made. He's a little bit bigger. The hat is a bit small. This is the first one that I made, and obviously this is the one that I'll be keeping, but I honestly really enjoyed making this. In comparison to the size, you can kind of see he's that much taller, so obviously I'll be charging 2 different prices for these 2 items. This one will be obviously a smaller, lesser a price, and this one will be slightly a bit higher, maybe $5 more, just because it is that little bit bigger. And so as I said, this was my test run, or you know, my first time making the pattern. I didn't really like how small the hat was, so all that I did was I went and changed the pattern slightly and just made the brim a little bit bigger, and yeah, he turned out so cute, just so squishy and cute, and I hope whoever's, you know, all the people will absolutely adore him, because I do. He's just too cute. So pretty much similar to the other Perry that I made. It was all parfait chunky, lagoon, tangerine and teddy bear for the hat. The eyes are again just 12mm. And as for the pattern, it is completely no sew. You make the tail, but that is then just crocheted in. The beak is actually crocheted while you're making the plush, so it's not even surface crocheted, it's literally made while you're making it. As I made mention, the only changes that I had made was just the brim. The brim is usually just half double crochets, but what I did was increase of half double crochets. It is a completely free pattern on Instagram, and I cannot recommend it enough. Again, like, this was so fast to make. The first time was about 40 minutes, but by the time I had made the last one, I was done within 35, and that's like such a quick market make, especially for like the size. Yeah, so the pattern was designed by Lil Star Purr on Instagram. I can't recommend it enough. So in total I had made obviously the one that I will be keeping for myself for future reference, and then I had made 3 for the event that I will be attending. So I guess in total I have 6 Perrys. and that's kind of what I wanted. That was my aim, to have 6 pairies. And the best part is I have, I guess, 2 varieties. One will be a little bit more expensive than the other, so that gives people options, I guess. And yeah, I honestly, yeah, just too cute. Way too cute. The pairies I had made all of on Sunday, and then on my to-do list I did want to make a Perry the Platypus keyring as well, and this is what I ended up making. I only had enough time just to make one. I ran out of time to make more, so that will obviously be today's problem, I guess, and going forward. Yeah, very cute. I had used the exact same pattern as this, and I just altered it and made it smaller. So for instance, with this pattern, the largest round is 24, while for this pattern the largest round is 18. For this one I had used a 5mm hook, and for this one I had used a 4mm hook, and the eyes are 10mm in comparison to the 12mm in here. And honestly, is it not just like the perfect keychain size? Like, it is just so cute, and again, the colors, the pattern, everything is exactly the same as this fellow over here. I just shrunk it basically. And it's, you know, it's very easy to do. If you know how to maths, yeah, it's easy to do. You just, you know, don't widen it as much. So for instance, this all starts with 8 in the magic ring, while this one I did 6 instead. And yeah, you know, you just kind of reduce it that way. And yeah, he turned out so stinking cute. I love the little tail. It's just too cute. And so yeah, that's kind of everything that I made. I'm a little bit bummed that I didn't have enough, you know, more time to make more of these, but hey, that will be today and this week's problem, I guess. So I guess overall I made 17 items this past week, which is pretty good, especially because one of them was actually a larger pattern that took me quite a long time, I guess, yeah, two evenings to finish. And I guess, yeah, the start of a keychain which I didn't count in that tally. And I feel pretty good with what I had made this week. Obviously it's not anywhere near the same amount that I had made last week, but that's okay. I've had a busy week. Work's been a little bit more busy and stressful. I've had a co-worker away that I had to, you know, stand in for, and I've had appointments that I had to attend to in the afternoons. But you know, there's something to look forward to. There is a long weekend coming up for this coming weekend, the 1st of June. We all have off, as is the day that we celebrate the King's birthday. I know it's not his legit birthday, but here in New Zealand that's the day that we have annual leave, I guess, or, you know, a public holiday is what we call them. So my hopes for this week is to obviously finish the little Perries. I will probably only make 4 of them rather than 6, so I will obviously keep this one for myself, and then I'll make an additional 4. Considering this takes me about 45 minutes to make, or at least it was the first time when I made this one, I'm hoping that it will rather be just 40 minutes maybe to make. Hopefully maybe even less, considering how long it took me to make this. But yeah, 4 of these in total. And then after that, I am officially going to start the Pokemon. I feel like every week I'm like, I'm going to start the Pokemon, but I don't. I then, you know, venture off into another universe. But at least this time I can actually really say I'm going to be doing the Pokemon after I finished all the Perries, because I've taken out all the colours, I've got everything ready, I've got the kawaii eyes ready, I've got, you know, guns a-blazing. You know, the 13th is coming up so soon, and out of everything on my list that I still need to do, I think the Pokemon are the most important, because, you know, they are so popular, especially right now with Pokopia. It's I just rather play it safe, get all my Pokemons done, and once I finished all the Pokemons I can then go on and do all the other little extra things that I want to make, like Toothless and Shrek and Fiona and maybe SpongeBob and Patrick. Venture off into, you know, other makes like that, and again I'll probably only make 1 or 2 of everything rather than 3 or 4 like I have been with these. The Toothless I think I would like to make 3 or 4, but for like, you know, the other things that I had made mention, I'll probably only do like 1 or 2 because I don't know how popular they'll be. But yeah, I obviously also want to make some more extra keychains like Pokeballs and Dragon Balls, but I don't think I'll have enough time to do everything because, you know, the Pokemon, there's a really wide list that I want to make, as I've been, you know, mentioning every week just about. So yeah, we'll see what I end up doing. But other than that, that's kind of all that I have for you. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up or like if you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe if you want to see more of the upcoming videos that I will be sharing. I believe I'll only be making maybe 2 or 3 more timing wise, and then I'll have hopefully, if I have enough time, I will hopefully make I guess inventory video to show you everything that I have made and how much I'll be selling my items for in New Zealand dollar, but I'll always have the conversions up. And I won't really be filming at the event. Maybe I'll take a couple of clips here and there just to kind of show how my table is looking, which I should say this coming weekend, because it's a long one, I am going to do a mock setup. I know it's a bit early, especially because I still have like technically 3 weeks, but I kind of want to do it this long weekend because it's a long weekend, but also then I can kind of really hone in, okay, what do I need to do in the final 2 weeks in order, you know, for the 13th. I still have to do a couple of extra things like print off the little, so for instance for the bigger makes I have little like price tags that I pin to the ears, so I need to go print that off. I also need to print off a couple of new labels because my setup is going to be slightly bit different. And yeah, because my layout is a bit different, I will need to print new price tags for that, for, you know, signage and stuff. And yeah, I guess it's kind of weird to know that it's so soon. I don't have like a month to go, it's way less than that now, but yeah, it's exciting, and the closer we get to it, the more excited I get rather than, you know, stressed as I am right now. But yeah, I went off on a tangent, so I'll say goodbye again. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe if you wish. And I will see you next week with another update. Bye bye!